Hello, it's Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me here today. Today I'm going to create a fold out or a little page, I guess you'd say, for an album I'm making for my granddaughter for this year's book. I make her a book each year and just put that year's photographs of things that she does throughout the year. So this is just one section. I'm using a uniquely creative 8x10 ring folder album that they sell, and yeah, so that's what all of these pages will be going into. My base page is cut using 300 GSM white cardstock, so it's nice and sturdy. I've cut my base pages to 7 inches by 9.5, so two of those. On one of them I have scored down one of the longer edges at 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to use my liquid glue and attach that folded or that scored piece on top of the piece that isn't scored, so that the folded edge butts up with the raw edge of the page underneath. So I'm basically making a flip out page, a base page that flip and then one that flips out on top of that. It's important to try and make sure that you get your edges as straight as possible so that your pages will sit nicely on top of each other. Once I've got my page in place, I like to use my bone folder and just run along the glued area with that to make sure that it sticks nicely. Now I'm going to use another page that I've created for the album. This is also using Denise Boddey Design papers. I've layered 3 papers, I think it is, on top of each other and then put my photo on it. I've used 2 photos and I've stitched around with my sewing machine on the smallest pattern paper. And then I've stuck my large photo and then the small photo and just a little bit of embellishment down in the corner. So I'm using that to mark where I want to punch my hole so that this double page will fit into my folder. I'm just using a normal hole punch. I have got a crocodile, but I like the size of these holes better, so that's what I'm using. The next thing I'm going to do is check how this fits into my folder and how that flap opens. I don't want it to foul on the hooks, so I'm just trying it out now. I want to have a little more clearance on it, so I'll put it back in my trimmer and trim about 1/2 inch off of that edge that's closest to the rings on the binder. So now I'm going to start to decorate my folder. I'm using this pattern paper. As I said, all of the papers I'm using on this are from Denise Boddey Designs. They are absolutely beautiful papers and they're nice and thick. She's got 3 ranges, I think, from memory. And anyway, I'll talk about those later. I'll put links in the description box if you're interested in having a look at her papers. They're absolutely gorgeous. So I'm trimming this one down, and because my page is 6 inches by 9.5, I'm trimming this paper down to 5 3/4 by 9 1/4, so I'm making it 1/4 inch smaller in each direction. I'm going to distress the edges with my Prima distressing tool. Now, if you haven't got a distressing tool, of course you can use your scissors. And then I'm going to ink around it with my black Versacolour ink cube. One of my favourite things to do with distressed edges, or well, any edges really, I just about ink everything. Once that's done, I'm going to use my art glitter glue, which has got no glitter in it at all, to attach that to my pattern paper, that is, to my folder. I used to always use double-sided tape for these sorts of things, but lately I've been using more and more glue. I'm thinking that it might be a more permanent type of adhesion. Sometimes I think that double-sided tape might give out after a few years. But anyway, glue it is for me these days. So now I'm going to prepare a piece of paper exactly the same size and exactly the same way as I did for the front of the folder to be the inside of that same folder. Now the paper I'm using here has got the branding strip on it, and if I cut that branding strip off it would have been too small, but with that branding strip on there it's the perfect size. So I thought, well, the branding strip's a bit of an added design, so yeah, so I decided to go with it, leave it on there and just have it on there as a feature. So as I said, this page is prepared in exactly the same way as the front of that flap. So now it's time to select a paper for the inside page, the flat page that's got the holes in it, and as I said, I'm using an assortment of Denise's papers, and even though they're all different paper ranges, they all blend so well together. So I'm just going through, rifling through, deciding which one I want to have on the inside page that blends nicely with the page to the right of it. And I'm going to cut that down so that it is 6 3/4 by 9 1/4, and treat that in exactly the same way as I've treated the prior two pattern papers. So distress the edges and then ink the edges, and then attach that page to the background using glue. Now of course that pattern paper covers up my holes, so because I haven't covered the other side of my cardstock yet, I can use those holes at the back to repunch the holes, and then when I actually cover this section of the folder I can do the same thing by turning it over as well. So that way I know I'm going to get my holes in the right place. Now on the back of this fold out page I'm going to put a pocket. So the pattern paper that I put on the background doesn't need to be the full length, so I'm cutting this piece of pattern paper so that it is 6 3/4 inches wide and just the length of the offcut. In this case it's about 6.5 inches long as well, so about square. The piece that I'm going to use for the pocket is 4 inches deep, and so I'm cutting that back so that it's 6 3/4 inches wide as well. This will mean that I'll have a bit of overlap and you won't see the join of the two papers behind the pocket. I'll go ahead and distress and ink all of the edges of these two papers just like I have all of the others. Time now to attach them to my fold out page, and so I'm going to use my art glitter glue to do that. I will stick the top piece down completely so that's flat against the cardstock, and the bottom pocket piece of course I'm only going to attach around 3 sides, leaving the top section open so that I can put something in there. Once I had my papers in place I went ahead and used my hole punch to repunch the holes. Now I just had a check that it fitted okay into my album and everything operated as it should. Now I'm going to make an envelope to fit into my pocket on my fold out page. So I want an envelope that's big enough to put a 5x7, 6x4 photo in it. So I'm going to use my envelope punch board, and I'm starting with a 9.5 inch square piece of pattern paper. Now all of these papers are double-sided, so I don't have to worry about the inside, and I'm just going to go ahead and create the envelope just using the standard punch board procedures. Now, if you haven't got a punch board for envelope making and you make envelopes, I would recommend that you do get one because they are very handy. They give you a nice professional looking envelope with nice rounded corners and square edges. So I might make a video just showing how to use the envelope punch, because yeah, that could be something that I could refer back to at any time, or you could refer to if you wanted to. So anyway, I'm just following the standard procedure where you punch and score, rotate, so on and so forth. You always make sure that your little pointy nose bit on your paper punch lines up with your previous score line, which can be a bit tricky finding the score line on pattern paper, but yeah, you can do it. Or sometimes I even fold it up so it makes it easier to see the line. So yes, so that's what I'm doing here. I inked around all of the outside edges and yeah, all over with this as well, so that the inking helps each section stand out. Makes it just look a little bit nicer, I think. So now we can pop our envelope into our pocket and see how nicely it fits. Lovely. So now it's time to embellish my pocket a little. Now I have got quite a few fussy cut pieces that I have previously fussy cut from these pattern papers, and I'm going to use a couple of those. One's got a little bird in it and one is just a floral cluster. So I will mount these on foam tape. So I'm going to cut little squares of foam tape to put behind these. I'm going to trim the actual fussy cut pieces down to a size that's appropriate for my pocket, and then I'm going to put a piece of gauze. Some people say gauze, some say cheesecloth. Don't know what you like to call it, but it's the stuff you get from the chemist that you put on your wounds. So I'm going to attach a bit of that behind my fussy cut elements that are going to be mounted on foam, and then just as an added security I'm going to use some of my art glitter glue on top of the foam squares just to help it stay stuck and keep that gauze in place. So that will finish my little fold out page for my album for today with the pocket and the envelope, but I'm going to give you a run through of what I have already done in this album, so that will come up very shortly. So here's a bit of a run through of what I've done already. So this first page has just got layers of paper here, and I've stitched around the smallest layer before I've attached the pattern papers to the page, and then I've folded around the photo and attached the two photos, and here I've just made a flower, die cut flower, and die cut some leaves and a bit of background there. Now, I always start her book off with a school photo, and then here I've put two pockets, and I'm going to put her school reports in there. She gets two school reports a year, one mid-year and one end of the year, and I'll just write in here what they are. So that's what they're for. And then over here, as her birthday is in January, so this page shows her celebrating with her mum and her grandfather and I. And I've made this little half page, or bit of page thing, with birthday written on it so that it was quite clear what it was. I've just cut a strip of cardstock and put pattern paper on both sides, cut birthday out of the pattern paper. I've done that twice so I can have a pattern on the back and the front. Unfortunately, you can't have it going both ways. I've put a little strip of paper there, Now she also celebrated with her friends, and I've made this little pocket page here so that we can put some little photos here of her with her friends, and hopefully there'll be enough here, and I'll put another piece of pattern paper through here with birthday or the people's names or something like that on that. And this is of course the page that we've just made, that I've just shown you in the video how I made it. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to put here, so I haven't done anything at this stage. I'm thinking that I could fit 2 6x4 photos there and a 5x7 photo there. But as I said, I'm not sure yet what will be going in here. She did go on a school camp, and I know she's got heaps and heaps of photos from that. And also we went to Queensland for a holiday, so there's also that's got quite a few photos. So anyway, there's photos for in here. This is just a lovely page. I thought that I'd use this, you know, maybe write the title in there, Queensland holiday or school camp or whatever, and leave that blank like it is. And then this of course is the the pocket that we've just made, and an envelope here that she can put more photos in, or she can write about the previous events. This can go in either way. And this, I haven't decided where I'm going to put this in yet, but this is a piece of printed acetate, and I have stitched a piece of blank acetate to the back of it, making a pocket. And I've just put some white cardstock in this side because I'm not sure what will go in there yet, whether it will be a photo or whatever. And then on the back I've put some pattern paper, so, you know, maybe a little photo in there, or she may want to just pop something in there, I'm not sure. So that's as far as I have got at this stage. So yeah, I will come back to you. I'll make videos of some other pages that I create in here and give you a progress report, and then once I've decorated all of the cover and everything like that, I'll have a flip through video of the finished item. So that's my video for today. I hope you've enjoyed it and found it useful, and perhaps give some of these things a try for yourself. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd love it if you would subscribe, and I hope you can join me for my next video. Bye.